my mind at the time, it was like a huge scandal at the school. I never thought I would have to be having an erection on stage.
I love that.
It was awesome. Or I'd be like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is so gross. Like, what is this? And everybody was laughing, and like, it just became a really funny moment. I definitely feel things very heavily, and that makes it hard to go through day-to-day life sometimes, you know.
And it was real blood, right?
Of course.
Or maybe it was
yeah.
false blood.
Yeah, it was from something living at the time. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, welcome to Hollywood Popcast. This is the show that explores the rising stars in the hottest films and TV series. Today, we're being joined by the very talented Julianna Goldsmith, star of the new Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus film, The Ritual. It is so scary, I'm telling you. We had to sleep with the lights on and have all of our cats surrounding us for the comfort cats. Anyways, Julianna is a versatile actor, singer, dancer, hyphenate, writer. She divides her time between Los Angeles and New York. Julianna graduated from the NYU Tisch School of the Arts at the Atlantic Acting Studio. But actually, she's been seen on stage since the age of 10. The human experience and the power of relationship are central to her passion for acting and storytelling. I'm thrilled to welcome Julianna Goldsmith to our show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So great to have you. All right. We're going to talk about this film because it's pretty scary. I want to hear all about your role and your experience with it. I think first, just like to know what kind of drew you to acting in the first place. Was there a specific moment where you thought, this is my passion. This is what I want to do with my life?
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed meaning for me over the course of time. But I remember from a very young age, just always putting on performances with friends and stuff. Like, we love to just create little movies that we would make together, or, do fun performances. And it was such a thrill. I don't think it was until later that I realized that it was something that really required a lot of time and energy and focus, and something that I could actually create and do with my life. But I loved performing when I was young. And I remember taking my first acting class when I was 10 or so. And I think that was the first time where I realized this means something. It was like a musical theater class, and we picked a song and then did like little scenes. And that was the first time I performed for like a real audience.
Yeah.
There were people from the industry there, and I just remember.
Nervous or not at 10 years old?
Oh, terrified.
Okay.
My God, absolutely terrified, especially because I was surrounded by these people who had been doing it. Like, it was a mix of ages. I think I was probably one of the youngest people, but people who had clearly like done this before and put in the work. And I was like, oh, okay, I have to like step it up. And to me at the time, it was very daunting. It was terrifying. And I remember being the last song to go, I was the last one. I had to watch everybody.
Yeah, and you just the anxiety's building, right?
Yeah, and it was crazy, but I think I then became an adrenaline junkie after that.
Right.
Like, I love that. But I remember it was a song from Glee. It was called Loser Like Me. And I remember
that's my daily life, by the way.
Loser like
me. Just as an aside.
It's relatable.
Yeah, very much so.
But I just remember being really affected by like what was actually happening in the scene. I was kind of being bullied, and it affected me, and it made me feel something. Even though I knew these people, they were my friends. It was like, wait, this is a story that happens to so many people, and I think. Being able to experience the empathy in that way was really powerful. And I think that was also the first time where I was on stage and I felt like my voice resonated in my body, but also I could feel the impact that it was having. And that was such a cool feeling. And I just was never able to let it go.
Really beautiful, to tap into kind of that authenticity and that emotion so early.
Yeah.
Something that's really real versus just I am acting. It's like, no, I am that character. And so you really felt something. That's very cool. Yeah. Speaking of which, so you said it was sort of daunting, sort of like, oh, now I have to start taking this seriously. I mean, your pedigree is quite good. You went to the Archer School for Girls.
Yes.
and NYU. A lot of very well-known people have come out of both of those places. Tell us a little bit about the why you chose those two places and what that experience was like studying there.
Yeah, I mean, private school was never it was never part of the plan.
Yeah.
But
It is, or
yeah, I mean, yeah, and we moved to the Valley because the public schools there were so great. And it really was the arts program, I think, for me. Like, I remember touring the school and we got to kind of go through like little things with the teachers. And I was just like, this is amazing. You get to try out different things when you're young. Like, in 6th grade, they have you go through like a series of different art classes and stuff. And I loved it. And there was something amazing about the community there. And I fell in love. It was hard to say no. And I'm really grateful for the education I've had. Going to Archer and especially doing theater there was life-changing. I got to play parts that I likely would never be able to play. And I think that was such a blessing because it kind of continued and like reinforced the importance of empathy in art. And
does one part in particular stand out for you from the experience?
Yes, absolutely. We did a musical called Spring Awakening.
Oh yeah, great.
Which was such an experience. I mean, it's about, if those of you don't know, it's about teenagers living in 19th century Germany, I believe. That could be wrong. You might want to fact check that. But
yeah, producer Kevin, check that. Got it. Write it down.
But basically, they're growing up and they are not told about anything regarding sex, and they're kind of just figuring it out on their own, which leads to a lot of mental health issues and conversations about that. It leads to getting pregnant because they're not informed of what sex is. And it was, in my mind at the time, it was like a huge scandal at the school because we were using cuss words. And I think that was like a big thing, for prospective students and families. It was like, wait, maybe don't have them go see that. This isn't how we want the school to be represented and things like that. And to me, it was so important to be doing a show like that because it talked about these like taboo subjects, and that's what art is. It reflects life. And I was playing a teenage boy and he was very attracted to his piano teacher, and they have a whole song about masturbation, and it was just not something I think I would play on a daily basis,
Yeah. Well, you were stretching.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was one of the most transformative shows I've ever been part of. Fun fact, I wrote my college statement about being in the show, and like the opening line of my essay was something along the lines of like, I never thought I would have to be having an erection on stage.
Every time you have an erection, it makes the papers.
I love that.
It was awesome.
We love fun facts on this show.
So there you go.
Yeah, no, I didn't see your show, but have seen Spring Awakening. It was quite moving.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there, there were certain moments where I was just immersed and it was moving me. So
yeah, it's such a beautiful show.
On the other side of it.
Oh yeah, it changed my life, and it was really cool because I went to Atlantic Acting Studio, which was part of NYU. And thank you.
That's well done. You beat me to it.
But yeah, it was really cool because Atlantic, they did Spring Awakening. That's where the show started.
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was their 15th, the show's 15th year or 15th reunion, my senior year. And my acting teacher at the time, he was the artistic director and still is. So we got invited to the concert that they did.
You can give him a shout out if you want.
Neil Pepe. This one's for you, Neil Pepe. Changed my life, really. Like, I got to see, it's like my favorite musical of all time. And then we got to be in the front row of this reunion concert.
Amazing.
I was spat on by Jonathan Groff, and it was
That's a rite of passage right there.
Yeah, it was life-changing.
Thank you to everyone involved in Spring Awakening who not only made that dream come true.
But it was so cool, like being able to go to school in New York and just be surrounded by that. was absolutely amazing. And
I was just going to ask you, what are some standout memories or lessons you learned from being in New York, being on stage in New York? I know you played Octavius Caesar in one show. Is there a show that really, such as Spring Awakening did at Archer, is there one at NYU that was kind of as transformative as that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. We did my senior year a play called Dance Nation by Claire Barron. And it's about a group of like teenage dancers, and very similar. I'm very drawn to like coming of age stories and things like that. And that's very much what that piece was about. And I had this monologue. I was playing the role of Ashley. The monologue was a full page, almost 2 pages. And it was just me for like 10 minutes, which was one of the scariest things I've ever had to do, truly. But I think what was so cool about it was, as much as it was just me, what I love so much about theater and doing this is the community and like feeling the presence of everybody else on stage and just having them like be there was like, okay, I can do this. I can trust myself, and I have them and they have me. It was really, really cool. That was such a fun show. It was a great time.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about just the fear of, or a lot of non-actors, like, how do you memorize so many lines? How do you not only memorize them, but then stop and emote with each of them?
Yeah.
What's your process for that? I'm curious because I'm not an actor. So.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I definitely used to go the rote memorization route, which is different now.
Rote route?
That's the one, rote route, yeah.
The rote route.
I'm now in a different acting studio called Stuart Rogers Studios, thanks to my father who introduced
He's
me.
over there?
Yeah, he's that guy right there.
Hey, Dad.
Hi.
Now, the way I kind of approach lines is like really thinking about why I'm saying these words, what this means to me. And it's actually crazy, like how much more you're able to really feel them as your own. And that's kind of the point of the how we think about it now. Because rote, you're kind of just like saying it over and over and over again. I used to like write it down. And now I don't even have to do that, which is really, really interesting. It's just like really breathing and looking at the words and like thinking about the life that you're in and why those words are being said, because they're there for a reason.
That's fascinating. I didn't even realize that was a technique or an approach. I always thought it was just learn it. Somebody run it, learn it in the shower, do it while you're driving your car.
Yeah.
I'm sure you still do some of that, but
I
now you're
definitely
doing
do.
it with the emotion and with the meaning behind the words.
Right. Yeah. And I'll just find like them popping up in my head throughout the day. It's really interesting. Cool. Like I'm doing a scene tomorrow in class and it keeps coming up and they're just there. They're just like part of me, which is cool.
I don't know if the transition from stage to film acting is difficult for some actors, if it's easy. I know a lot of actors, I know a lot of directors in commercials who like to go from the 30-second genre to full because they can tell an entire story in 30 seconds. So it's easy for them to actually augment rather than trying to crunch it down. I guess this is a later question. I want to hear about your process. But first, let's talk about the ritual. Okay. There are a lot of actors and actresses who got their first big break in the horror genre, I think, of Jamie Lee Curtis. I point over here. She's not here.
God, I wish she was.
Yeah. Well, tell us about this film. I saw it. It's great. You are fantastic in it. You have the lead. Scared the S out of me. Tell us about the film and specifically your character and how you got into kind of the role.
Yeah.
Felt her presence.
Yeah. It is really cool thinking about how many people have come from this genre. It's hard for me to say I do not like horror movies, shockingly. I mean, I have an appreciation for them, absolutely, but I'm terrified of literally everything. Yeah, so same. Yeah, it's not something I'm naturally drawn to. So this was actually the first time I heard of the final girl.
Ever since I was a little boy, I've dreamed of being the final girl.
Because I did play a final girl.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, which was so cool. Just kind of getting to learn about that. I was like, wait, what does that mean? I'm not in the loop about this. And
Movies like this end when the final girl kills the main bad guy and the credits roll.
so I don't necessarily know if the trope is the same. I just know spoiler alert, survive, which was cool.
Oh, man.
God, I ruined it.
Everyone survives, right?
Everybody, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no
It's
blood,
a happy ending. Yeah, no blood. But that was definitely really cool. And I think I tried to approach it just from how I approach every role, which is really trying to understand her life and her circumstances. I really connected to the story with the piece of the father, which is a huge part
Well,
of it.
tell it, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit truncated version of the story.
Yes, absolutely. So I play the role of Maria Marquez. She's in college, and she's studying basically what her dad was a professor, and he studied ancient rituals of different tribes and things like that.
Scary already.
Yeah, absolutely. Ancient rituals.
I mean, just he had me like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he is dead now, and she's kind of really struggling with the grief aspect of it, of not having him. The film starts, she is having a class in the lecture hall where he died. So, it's that really, reading the script, like really pulled on my heartstrings. I just felt sympathy for her. She's trying to conquer this fear and like honor his memory by, following his passion and following in his footsteps. But it's really difficult. And basically she goes on to meet a group of other kids, and they practice these rituals. They like to experience them for themselves. And the TA of her class is kind of like the spearhead of the group. So he's like, it would be great to have you with all your, knowledge of your dad. So she joins them. Chaos ensues.
Who's holding you?
Teenage birthmark.
Where?
Is her name isn't.
Maria.
Don't touch me! Who are you?
What did you take?
Cave fungus.
You're an addict.
I'm not addicted to this.
No, you're just stuck in some kind of flashback hell.
This is a way for me to connect with my father.
But ultimately, it's a story about wanting to connect with someone you've lost and losing her father. So that for me was, I really liked the script for that aspect. Like, I thought that relationship was so clear. And that was kind of the way in for me, was just like thinking about him and her relationship with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it very well. I mean, whether you are necessarily a huge horror fan or any genre, it's about the story and the storytelling and the character and the realities and the truths that come out of the character. I mean, you could say Jaws is a horror film, right? But just what an amazing film and character study. And I thought, I mean, you were fantastic in the, not fantastic, and you were fantastic in this film. I mean, I really felt like, and tell me if I'm wrong with this, but you were playing it. I felt like you were walking this razor's edge of, you're trying to be strong. You're obviously scarred. There's so much emotion beneath it that you're just plunging down, because if you let it go, you'll never get it back. Am I wrong in how I saw you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think also what's cool about acting in general is like bringing yourself to the roles that you play. And that is very much a thing I experience. It's like,
You've been through a lot of rituals and
yes, totally.
So
I
it was a
love
natural.
dealing with ghosts and paranormal activity. It's great.
Right.
But I definitely feel things very heavily, and that makes it hard to go through day-to-day life sometimes, and I think for Maria, she is in school. She's trying to work towards something, and it's so difficult to go through your day-to-day when you're dealing with grief and like these really intense emotions. So absolutely, it was like, you have to hold it in. You have to get through the day somehow. And then I think ultimately it explodes because you're holding it in for so long.
Well, I know we talked about your background is really on stage. What was the transition like to work in a more contained film setting, taking, retaking?
Yeah.
Was that simple for you? Was that difficult for you? Was it a transition? Did you enjoy it?
I did. I loved it. I think the biggest thing is obviously getting used to like a camera being in your face and like, you know, you have to, you have, you have marks in theater and like you have places you have to hit, but with this, it can be so technical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think learning how to incorporate that and not let it take you out of the moment was definitely an interesting thing to learn. But it was super cool. And I think I definitely felt more comfortable as, time went on. But again, for me, what I love so much about doing this is connecting with another person. And I was still able to have that. And I think I'm really grateful to a lot of like my castmates. I especially want to give a shout out to Jerry Campisi. He played Louis Baxter. And I would say we're filming together most of the time.
He did a great job.
Yeah,
as well.
he was amazing. And him knowing that it was like my first film, he was so supportive. And I think we just really tried to show up for each other, because when you're filming, you're not always necessarily on camera, right? So like if it's his coverage or my coverage, we would always just really try to be there for each other and like give each other as much energy as we would if it was our shot, because that's what you want. You want the support. And it's like, you need that connection to really, and that's a luxury, I will say. That's not something that I should get used to getting. I've heard many stories, but
and I'll just add that in theater, obviously you're having that connection with the person. When you're doing film, it could be out of sequence.
Yeah.
You could be talking here and the person's not even reading you a line because you're not connecting. So it's there's a lot of believability that you have to really draw upon.
Right. Yeah. Which is so interesting. But I think, having him to work with was so amazing, and he really made it feel like a seamless transition. And everybody else too. That's not just, but I do.
And the director.
Yeah, which is really cool. Everyone was so great. It was such a great cast and crew. I feel really, really lucky, and like I felt safe and supported the whole time, which you can't always ask. You can't always get that. So that was awesome.
So I suppose any horror genre can be intense. There are some very intense moments in The Ritual. This is not a spoiler alert because we see it in the trailer and you'll see it as we show it here. The blood going into your mouth from a ghost-like creature. Tell us a little bit about what was that like?
Oh my God.
You want to go to the bathroom, clean some of the blood and the puke off you?
As I said, I hate blood. Even knowing,
and it was real blood, right?
Of course,
or maybe it was
yeah.
cow's blood.
Yeah, it's from it was from something living at the time. Yeah, absolutely. High production value.
Yes, authenticity.
Even like knowing that it's fake blood freaked me out. And that was the last thing I filmed. Actually, was them. That was my very last scene, and I was freaking out. I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is insane. It's chocolate syrup.
Yeah.
Like, even then I was like, this is so...
Which is the same thing they used in Psycho, going down the drain. It's the same consistency.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock
cool.
used. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Terrifying. But I think what made it easy was like, again, the cast and crew, it was so funny. Like I would kind of have these like freak out moments before I'd be like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is so gross. Like what is it? And everybody was laughing and like, it just became a really funny moment. Like
it wasn't funny on screen. And my wife was screaming. No.
I know. Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
I would tell my grandma, I had to be like, it's okay. It's chocolate syrup.
Yeah.
But, of course it doesn't feel funny in the moment because I have this like terrifying creature who is staring at me and like haunting me. So, when action is called, it's like you're so in that world.
Yeah.
But after the fact, it's like, I knew I'm safe. It's fake. We were all going to laugh about it. And it was so funny.
And you're never eating chocolate syrup again.
Probably never again.
No hot fudge sundaes for
I did have to use a lot of chocolate syrup again for a one-act play that I was in a few months ago. It was, apparently I like to be bloody. That's just my casting.
That's your thing. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah.
Because I had to get covered in it, like chocolate syrup head to toe. And that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Our director, Hiroshi Katajiri, he has been doing like practical and special effects for decades. I mean, his credits are unbelievable. Like Avatar, he's done insane stuff. So yeah, there were a lot of very real things that would happen on set. Like there's like a face that splits open, and then my dad, his face like drips off, and
some good melting effects.
But it's like literally happening right in front of you. It was really crazy.
That's not all in post?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of it was
practical.
Yeah, which was amazing. That was so cool, like getting to work with that and see it, because again, it just makes it so real, like such a visceral experience. And yeah, it was really cool getting to see them like put it, like they would also put it on the actors too. So they would do, the like still mannequin head. I don't know what you would call that, but yeah, that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I thought the effects were great, and less. I mean, it's not the most amazing effect, but I will say the throat cutting. I'll just give that away here and there. That stuff freaks me out, and it was done very well, very realistically.
Yeah,
and the actors, of course, brought it home, but the effects themselves.
Yeah, that was a really insane sequence to shoot because, as I said, like we all tried to show up for each other. So when that was happening, I was not being filmed. But I sat there and watched it happen because that's, how the scene goes. And I believed it. Oh, I believed it. Like watching their throats oh my God.
And we believed that you believed it.
Yeah, it haunts me still. It was terrifying.
I'm going to drill in your head just a little bit here. So horror films obviously deal with fear, lots of fear. If I can ask, what sort of things do you fear in life, or when it's related to your career? I guess a better way of saying it is, what keeps you up at night, and not the fear of necessarily ghosts, but when it comes to nailing a part or getting a part or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, will I ever get a job again?
You will. It's coming.
That's the biggest one. I think it's so scary having committed myself to this since I was 10, and obviously knowing how hard of an industry it is really terrifying.
Yeah.
Because I love it so much and I really can't see my life without it. I think that's so scary because it feels so out of your control most of the time.
You can be the most incredible, the most talented.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of actors, passionate actors say, it's something I cannot not do. It's not a choice. I have to do it.
Yeah. I totally
think that's essentially what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I absolutely resonate with that. My current acting teacher, Stuart, always says, if there's anything else you can do, do it.
Well, what else would you do if you could, or wouldn't you?
I mean,
if you weren't an actor, what would you be doing?
It would have to be relative in the industry. I love it. There's something so amazing about storytelling, like the feeling that you get seeing a movie and watching someone have an experience. So I've always been drawn to casting. I think that's really cool. That is honestly, I believe, an underrated art in this industry. I think casting directors deserve way more credit than they get because they have to have an eye. They're envisioning these people and these lives and putting them together. I think that's fascinating, but yeah, it's really hard for me to think about doing anything else. And a lot of times you do get the question, what's your plan B? And it's just, that's hard for me to be asked because I don't want there to be a plan B.
Yeah. You're burning the ships at the shore. I mean, you're all in. And honestly, I know a lot of actors, a lot of actresses, you will be working a lot. And to that point, I mean, if you could wave the magic wand, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? And what kind of stories do you want to be telling?
Whew, wow.
Yeah, a small little question that's
tiny.
you have for the last 15 seconds. No. Plenty of time.
Well, like I said, I really love coming of age stories. So within the next 5 years, you know, like films like Lady Bird and Booksmart, any Greta Gerwig would be, I love her.
What you did was very baller. It was very anarchist.
Yeah, fuck him.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna snitch on you.
Well, I hope not, because I'd fucking kill your family.
What?
Sorry, that was an exaggeration.
It's okay. My dad has cancer, so I guess God's doing that for us.
Oh.
Greta, hi. I love you. I love stories like that. But even like, I think that can also be translated to shows like Sex Life of College Girls that's on right now. Like I would love to be doing something like that.
Damn, girl. Okay, actually, on second thought, I think I'm gonna go, but I don't want to make this some big dramatic exit, so please, the two of you stay.
The ultimate dream for me is to be fully bi-coastal. And, you know, I think in 10 years, God, I just thought about how old I would be.
Still very young. Very young.
Yeah, but that's so weird to think about. But yeah, I mean, I really do. I love every aspect of this industry. I'm not really someone who's like, it's only film or it's only this. Like,
Well, and you write as well.
I love writing too. And so, you know, in 10 years, if I'm able to just be doing this as a full-time career, that will be ideal for me. I mean, I would be so happy doing that, whether it's, you know, series regular, whether it's still doing co-stars, I don't care. Like, I think I'm...
Or all the above.
All of the above, yeah. I think I'm open to anything if it tells a story that I can connect to and something that's important and meaningful. That's what I would love to be doing, so... Films that I've loved, like A Quiet Place, oh my gosh, like for me, that one was huge.
More psychological.
I do really like psychological thrillers, actually. Yeah, A Quiet Place was... because that was such a different form of storytelling that I've never seen, like the way that they incorporated ASL. And again, like the family story, like that's what it was about. I think things that are like gory for gory's sake, that's not my personal taste. But this is life or death and, you know, putting your family's life, your legacy, everything is on the line. And that one was, those were amazing.
What was the casting process? You spoke about casting directors, and I agree. It's really kind of an art that should be recognized as much as anything else. What was the casting process like for you for this film?
It was a very quick process.
Really?
Yeah, it was. And I booked it all from home. It was all self-tape. You're literally, you know, you have a background, you have your phone, you have a reader. My father usually does that for me. And you film it, you edit it yourself, you submit it, and it goes into the void, usually.
And a lot of that started because of COVID, and it's just kind of continued.
Stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
There are definitely a lot of positives to it. Casting can now see way more people, which I guess is a good and bad thing. But for them, I think it's a good thing. You know, they're able to see new talent and get a lot more work done than they would if they were bringing people in one by one. But then, you know, at the same time, you don't get to have that connection with another human being, which for me is, again, why I love the art so much. So it can be tough. But, you know, shout out to my dad. He was and is a great actor. So, you know, I feel like I am still able to get that with him when we do self-tapes and stuff. But it's interesting. And for this one, I did not have any like face-to-face contact with the casting, who was the producer, actually. He did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I think the director was involved as well. And so it was like just email communication through my agent, basically. So yeah, I did the initial self-tape, and then they brought me in for a callback, brought me in being another self-tape, which was a different scene.
Oh, wow.
And I booked it from that.
Really? You not even with a director, huh? Not a director read or anything?
No.
Wow.
We did a table read, which is the first day I met them, but yes, basically. Yeah.
I think that also speaks to your talent. I mean, I'm not like, but I am, because that's pretty rare.
Thank you.
So well done.
Thank you. It was cool. It was fun to be able to like, I didn't get to read the whole script until I had the job, but getting to do 2 different scenes and kind of being able to pick up on her journey was really cool. And I mean, I think it's a rare thing for that to happen, but
How long was the shooting schedule?
so fast. It was initially 10 days, and then we added, it was quick. And then I think it ultimately was 12 because we had to add a couple days to the end of it. But yeah, it was fast. We had a couple of houses that we were filming at. We went to a couple different studios.
Shot here locally.
Yes.
Los
here
Angeles.
locally in Los Angeles. Yeah. It was crazy how fast it was.
He must move very fast.
Definitely moved quickly. There were, that was another thing that was really interesting. There were some days when I would literally do 1 take, and it was like, okay, the director seems to trust that it was good, but now I have to trust myself. And like, it was the kind of thing where you could ask for another take, of course. But
yeah, I was going to ask you if how much freedom did you have to say, oh, let me try this. May I try this? I want to try it this way.
Yeah,
was it pretty open that way?
Yeah, I would say so. I think for me, again, with it being my first film, I was kind of like, I don't know. Am I allowed to ask that? And again, like my co-star Jerry was like, absolutely, like they want you to feel good, and he was he was so great.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Really helpful in helping me like navigate things like that. But yeah, if there was ever a time where it was like I didn't feel great about that, we could ask for another one. But it was a tight schedule for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, having that theater background must have helped with having such a tight schedule for the filming, because you are always on. You're always have to be ready to go, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely think that played a part for sure. It's a different feeling knowing like you're about to enter on stage and that there will be people watching you. But I think, I feel like almost the cameras would sort of replace that for me, that feeling. And, of course there are still people watching you, and it's this like idea that everybody is here playing a part, and I just want to do my part to make their life easier and, just show up in that way. And I do think once I kind of got the gist of, how quick the shooting schedule would be, it was like, okay, I really have to make sure that I'm like tuning into myself and being present and letting myself feel all the things and being able to just show up on that first take so that I can make everybody's lives easier and we can continue and, make this happen. I do think that it was definitely helpful coming from a theater background, just knowing you got to nail it. Yeah. You don't have a choice. So that was cool. I think it all came down to trusting myself, which is also a huge thing in theater, because that panic definitely comes in. Like, do I remember my lines in the scene? Do I remember where I have to be? Like, there's so many things, so many elements that you have to think of. And every time the show is over, you're like, okay, I did it. I can do that. And I think that's totally the same thing with being on camera too.
So my father was an actor. He's on Broadway, a singer. And he used to say, it's not just the role you're in, it's the next one and the one after that, because you're constantly auditioning. You're constantly trying to, keep ahead of things. I'm curious, we talked a little bit about what's next for you 5-10 years down the line. What's next for you in the more immediate sense? Do you love the film genre now? Are you like, I'm going to stick with stage? You want to do it all? We talked a little bit about you doing it all, but what's sort of next for you in this journey?
I do think, especially kind of with what I'm doing in class, we focus specifically on features and plays, just really trying to get feel understanding for being a character and like learning their journey from A to B. And so I think I'm definitely drawn to features right now, especially, seeing them in the theater. And there's such a feeling there. Like, I just love it so much. So I would love to be doing features, I think, right now. That would be amazing. And theater too. I love live theater.
Is that part of the reason why you're bicoastal, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I do think because I'm able to so easily work there, there's, a lot of things that are good as a starting actor that New York offers. For example, Law and Order. Like, I mean, it really is an actor rite of passage. And like, again, I think that would be such a great experience to have. So, I'm just trying to be open to anything that'll come my way. But I think the possibility of theater is really exciting to me. And, if that opportunity presented itself, I would be so thrilled. Because again, there's not quite an experience you can have like going to the live theater.
Absolutely.
And feeling like the everybody around you watching something and having that same experience is so, and not even necessarily the same, but you can feel those moments when something like a huge moment of tension happens and the weight of the audience, like you can feel that and it's alive. And I think that's,
you own that, you control that.
Yeah, which is so cool. So I think I would love to be back and doing that.
Well, and we talked a little bit about it before the transition, but I imagine that working in theater helps the film work and working in film helps the theater work. I mean, it's you're fishing from the same pond, even though it's kind of maybe using different lures, as it were.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, obviously you have the pressure of you got to do it right in theater, like, right. But you have this one moment. Yeah. And I think having that pressure almost kind of makes you want to nail it on the first take, because you're like, no, the story is in me. And if I can do it then and like do the whole thing all the way through of a play from, that you're just doing the thing. It's like you can do that from take to take two. And I think being able to just like sit in the life that you're in as the part that you're playing is, I think that is a skill that's, transferable.
I always ask creative folks if they ever feel this imposter syndrome. I certainly feel it from time to time. My feeling is that everybody feels it sometime. My belief is, but I'm curious if you ever feel that, and if you do, how do you work through that?
I feel it right now.
Well, it's because you haven't had lunch. We got to get you lunch.
I
You
know.
feel so much better. Cup of coffee.
Jersey Mike's.
There you go. Jersey Mike's.
Yeah.
Sponsor.
Please. Yes, I definitely feel that. And, I think what's reassuring is actually hearing how common of an experience it is.
Yeah.
People you wouldn't expect experience this. Like we were at a screening last night for A Real Pain. And I felt that, like Jesse Eisenberg was saying, like, I'm worried about when I'm going to get my next job. And like, I was like, but you're
Jesse Eisenberg.
You're Jesse Eisenberg. What do you mean?
Seem to be doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that to me is like really helpful to think about people that you're inspired by. This is a really hard industry to be in. You're constantly being told no, and or you're hearing nothing at all. And I think you really have to learn to trust. I've been saying this, but you have to learn to trust yourself and know that at the end of the day, you have what you bring to the table and nobody can take that away from you. And remembering I earned my place here was something I really had to think about. And another thing too is, I think what's so cool about being an actor is because we bring ourselves to the roles that we play, nobody would play this part like I would.
Yeah.
And somebody saw that, somebody saw something in me that was, maybe that was a different way I hadn't thought of Maria, or, whatever I don't know what it was, but I think just kind of having to have those like check-ins with yourself and be like, no, I've worked so hard for this, and I'm here for a reason.
I deserve it.
Yeah.
I imagine too that, you know, if you're doing something that you absolutely love, which you absolutely love this, there's probably that feeling, and I've heard this from a lot of actors, of paying me to do this, you know, or like from sports figures, I'm playing a game in which I love and they're paying me shit tons of money or paying me shit tons of money. So I imagine that plays that seeps its way into the brain as well.
It does, yeah, because I'm still at a point where if there's a story I love, I will do it for next to nothing, you know? I mean, I probably shouldn't say that, but
we'll cut that.
but, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, of course I want to make my living doing this. And the first paycheck was like, wait, what? This is happening? It was so weird. It was such an out-of-body experience.
Very well said. Well, thank you so much, Julianna. It's so great to have you.
Thank you.
Folks,
Thanks
watch this one. We talk about rising stars. You'll see within the next few years. Julianna Goldsmith. The film is The Ritual. It's quite scary, and she is amazing. It's out on Amazon Prime and Apple TV, and I highly encourage you to go watch it.
Yay.
You'll love it. And thank you for watching Hollywood Popcast. Please do subscribe, like, share. It would mean a lot to us. We'll see you next time. Thank you.